Yeah, it's time to talk some baseball, and this is Launch Angle Podcast, Episode 3. My name is Sam. I'm your host. I'm here with my co-host Tanner and my buddy, our first podcast guest, Mr. Zach Hefner. Hi, Zach.
Hey, guys. How's it going today?
Good,
good,
Zach. We're happy to have you, buddy. If it's not obvious, tell us who your team is. Where do you come from? Who are you? Tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, so Zach Hefner, sitting out of Lincoln, Nebraska, formerly of Houston, Texas. If that's not apparent enough from my attire here today, longtime Astros fan. There's a picture of me somewhere in the old navy and gold 90s Astros gear that I used to talk about the length of my fandom. My personal anecdote I like to share before we dive into the good stuff about the more modern era Astros. My team, when I think about the Astros, is that mid 2000s team, the Craig Biggio, the Jeff Bagwell, Lance Berkman, all those killer bees. My dad bought me Game 5 tickets to the 05 World Series, and you guys are pretty up on your knowledge. Might remember there was no Game 5 that happened as my dear sweet Astros got swept. So that's kind of the theme of my sports fandom. A lot of highs and a lot of lows.
Well, it's crazy because there was no trash can banging in 05, but
it's funny how that works. It's
imagine how they would have played if those guys knew what pitches were coming.
Yeah.
How many home runs would Lance Berkman hit?
Yeah.
No.
One could only imagine. Zach, we're happy to have you, buddy.
We'll get into that.
So
we're giving you a hard time. We'll give you a hard time more today as we go on because we've got Astros baseball to talk. We're going to roll back the clock to 2017, talk about some of that, talk about Carlos Beltran. But first, Zach, it's a tradition on our pod to name a random baseball player from MLB past. Anything that comes to mind and maybe why you're naming them. I'll start. I've got Jason Bay, left field for the Pittsburgh Pirates, mostly played 11 years. Rookie of the Year in 2004, three-time All-Star, one-time Silver Slugger. He was drafted by the Expos in the 22nd round, and he was a Canadian, believe it or not. Jason Bay, shout out, man. Shout out. Tanner, who you got?
Today, I got Daisuke Matsuzaka. For some reason, the other day, I was thinking about Japanese baseball players, and Daisuke popped in my head, and he was not really that great. He had two pretty okay years with the Red Sox, and outside of that, he was pretty forgettable. A few more years with the Red Sox, and I looked, and he ended his career with the Mets, which I didn't know. Sub-10 career WAR, and all of that was from his first two seasons. Anyways, that's what I got today.
Sub-10, that's rough.
That is rough.
Well, I also agree he played for the Mets.
I've got a sub-10 WAR guy myself. We're going to dial the clock back a little bit, back to the 1870s for Louis Pisano Buttercup Dickerson. Now, what stuck out to me about Buttercup here, stood 5'6", 140 pounds, played 7 seasons, so a true certified short king. We love to see it. Why does this matter whatsoever? Well, he had 500 hits across his career, batted .284, only 4 home runs, as you'd expect with his stature. But he did lead the league for the Cincinnati Reds in triples, with 14 triples in his age 20 season.
How many would he have hit with the juice ball? You know what? I've been playing MLB The Show. I've played that game for years, and I just learned recently that in the 2025 year, they have like a short king like set of cards you can get. That includes guys like Jose Altuve, Terry Pendleton, Joe Morgan, Alejandro Kirk. So that was a great segue for MLB The Show.
That's
MLB The Show, please sponsor us.
Please sponsor us.
And please sponsor us.
We will plug your game every podcast if you sponsor us.
All right.
Lots to talk about
that's a good
today
one, Zach.
Those were great, guys. Good job. Good polls. Way better than my Jason Day poll. But you gave me some ideas for next time. Let's talk about, tomorrow spring training starts. Spring training games start literally tomorrow. So congratulations, guys. We made it. Made it to baseball season. And Tanner and I were texting yesterday. We're trying to get on to the MLB.TV subscription service, which we do every year, right, Tanner?
Every
so we
year,
can watch baseball,
obviously.
right? And
And you
I
got
don't
to
think
do
it's
it preseason because we got to watch spring training games. I
right.
can't not watch spring training and call myself a real baseball fan.
I also don't think it's that much to ask to give you money so that I can watch baseball. Tanner, what happened yesterday when you tried to purchase this?
Okay, I got very angry yesterday. I really had to reel myself in to try to be kind to Disney employees and MLB employees. Because I go on, I'm like, okay, my thing's going to renew automatically. Awesome. Actually, I should go back because MLB Players Association used to be $25. If you sign up for MLB Players Association, like alumni deal, they give you half off MLB TV. So that subscription auto renewed for me. I was like, fine, I'm going to get half off. 2 days later, I get an email, hey, we're not giving you half off anymore. That was strike one. Just bothered me. I'm like, so I paid $25 for nothing. I'm not going to miss my canned email from Jim Tomey every year to thank me. And I canceled that promptly as soon as I got that email that it's not coming back. So that was part one. I was already disappointed. Number two, I'm like, okay, let's get in. Let's get this signed up. It's going to be easy. Nope. Log in MLB TV, try to renew my thing. It doesn't let me. I give them a call. Hey, is there any way to do this outside of ESPN? Unlimited. No. Call Disney. They're like, yeah, we need you to sign up for ESPN Unlimited. It's $35.99 a month. And that's the only ways you can watch games, including having to pay $150 a year for MLB TV. I was like, okay, that's not what the MLB website said or what the person at MLB said. And if I change my plan, I'm not going to be able to change back to my other plan, which was already discounted. And I'm like, this is a pain in the butt. Call MLB again. They transfer me back to Disney. Finally, I get back to MLB to somebody at Disney who could actually help me. And he goes, best way to do it is use a totally different email. So you can get a free month trial of ESPN Unlimited, be able to sign up for MLB TV, and then you can go back, connect it with your MLB TV app, and cancel it. There's a lot of back and forth. I finally got it. Shout out to that one guy at Disney for telling me to use a dummy email. But man,
not AI.
What a pain. Not AI. What a pain. Like, I have never had so many issues signing up to watch baseball and to give somebody my money.
This is like the back
insanity.
and forth you would see on like an insurance call. Shout out Big Pharma, please sponsor. Just a really rough back and forth that you saw yourself going.
Yeah. So I wasted like an hour yesterday talking to them, seeing how I could pay them to let me watch baseball. But I think we're set up now. TBD.
That's good. That's good, yeah. Tanner, thanks for doing the work, and I'm sorry that you went through that. Tanner called me yesterday, angry. Every once in a while I'll get an angry Tanner call. Not super often, but sometimes I will get an angry Tanner call. And MLB, here's a bit of fan advice from a layman, someone who just wants to watch ball, like these two guys. Just make it easy for us to cut you a check so that we can watch baseball. Don't make us sign up for a subscription. Don't make us create a new account. Don't make us do that because we want to pay you to watch ball. And when you do this, it makes us not want to pay you. You guys agree?
Agree.
Yeah. Agree. Okay. Enough about that. I'm getting hot. We got it done thanks to Tanner. It's time to talk some baseball. I said we're going to wind back the clock. And here's where we're going to start. We're going to start with Carlos Beltran. Tanner and Zach. I want to talk about Carlos Beltran because he was just inducted in the National Baseball Hall of Fame. And here's the question. Should he be in the Hall of Fame? And why is this worth talking about? Tanner, I'm going to start with you, buddy.
Yeah, I think, this is something we're going to talk about is cheating in baseball. We got the Astros talking Carlos Beltran. And I think you have to look at it. Is Carlos Beltran a worthy Hall of Fame player? I say, yes, he is. He's an awesome player, seems like a great guy, but he cheated. And that's why I'm bothered by it. And I say he should not be in the Hall of Fame because there's some cheating that apparently is fine to do and some cheating that apparently is not fine to do. And that's where it like really has been rubbing me the wrong way lately is, you look back historically, you're not going to tell me there's guys in every decade who weren't cheating. Was the cheating different? Was the cheating legal? Maybe. I always think of in my mind Arnold Schwarzenegger, totally different, not baseball related, but the dude was taking horse steroids before human steroids were a thing. Like,
The Governor.
like people way back in the 60s had ways to cheat. They just weren't getting caught. Like, and there's still guys in the Hall of Fame. So like, why are we cutting this line of like, Beltran cheated. He was even the ringleader of this Astros cheating scandal, but he's fine. Whereas, next guy, Roger Clemens, one of the best pitchers ever, took steroids, so he's out. It just, the line or lack of line drives me nuts.
Sure.
That was a lot I was talking about.
The clear lack of clarity when it comes to cheating in baseball. We'll talk more about that. But Zach, I want to give you a chance to respond. Should Carlos Beltran be in the Hall of Fame?
So I did my research. We're talking about a 9-time All-Star, 12-time 20 home runs, 11-time 30 doubles, 8-time 100 ribbies, 7-time 100 runs scored. Really quality guy, like did a lot of great things, even AL Rookie of the Year in 99, couple Gold Gloves, couple Silver Sluggers. But to Tanner's point, he is the one player that was specifically named in the investigative report related to the 2017 scandal. So I'm going to leave it a little vague so we can dive in a little bit more on my perception on cheating, but I do find it very interesting that the first individual that was a part of the scandal in some way or form or fashion is already in the Hall. It opens up a big can of worms for some future names that I think people are a little bit more irritated by.
It does. And you're wise for saying that it opens up a can of worms. We'll need to talk about that. And in fact, I think a good goal for this pod for the three of us is just defining what cheating is, recognizing maybe the difference between a competitive advantage and cheating in baseball. Because some fans, they look at what's happening in baseball, kind of like Tanner said, and they think that's cheating, when really it's really just a competitive advantage that I think teams are taking. And then there's clear cheating, right? And I think maybe some of Tanner's frustration is, and I can sense it. I don't know if we've ever talked about this, but like the A-Rod factor, A-Rod should be in the Hall of Fame. A-Rod should be in the Hall of Fame. You can't really tell me otherwise. The dude's one of the best baseball players of all time. And so I think when a guy comes in like Carlos Beltran, you rattle off those stats. I think I agree with you, Zach. The stats say yes. I think the stats say yes for Carlos Beltran. If he was never caught up in the scandal, if he was never named, if he was never an Astro in 2017, which I believe was the last year of his career.
It was.
Look, 435 home runs, 2,700 plus hits, 9-time All-Star. He was Rookie of the Year in 99. He's a good baseball player. And so the stats say yes. And what I wrote down is my heart tells me no. My heart tells me that the guys on that team should have been punished. And the level of cheating in my mind, and I don't know if it's because I'm just angry about it. I'm curious to hear your guys' perspective. The level of cheating on the spectrum of cheating in baseball, what the Astros did was egregious in my mind. The video use and the trash can specifically, knowing what pitch is coming is way beyond a competitive advantage, even in my mind, more than steroids. What do you think, Tanner?
I'd agree. I mean, I think steroids has, frankly, less of an impact than people believe. Like, it's going to make you stronger. Yes. It does not help your mental ability in the game. Like, you could argue totally illegal substances like creatine are going to help you more mentally and cognitively than steroids are. So from that perspective, I would agree. And like statistically and everything, Carlos Beltran should be in the Hall of Fame. And even with it, I know I said no, but mostly I say no because I'm frustrated about the steroid issue, in that guys like Clemens and Bonds and A-Rod are not in the Hall of Fame, where you have, and those guys, unlikable. I totally acknowledge that. I understand why people don't like him. 2003, David Ortiz fails a drug test. First ballot Hall of Famer. Why?
Yeah.
Because everybody loves David Ortiz. Like, it's just a stupid thing that nobody's going to agree with. And the writers just put people in because they like them, even if they don't deserve it. It's just drives me nuts.
Zach, I'll give you a chance to respond to that.
That's actually my bigger question is it more of a problem? I know this is maybe a different pod, but is there a problem with the Hall of Fame voting at that side of things? Which I think the answer is an easy yes.
Yes, for sure.
So I think that's what we're running into. I think we're going to have a really interesting conversation in a few years when Altuve comes up to bat, because when we think of like the face of the franchise and everything related to that, again, I think his stats outweigh even that of some others. But when you think of everything that he was tied to, really opens up, again, that big can of worms. So I know we're going to talk about this here in a minute, but I do tend to agree on the side of what defines cheating. Steroids doesn't bother me near as much as some other things do.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Yeah, I'm in agreement with you guys. This is such a fun thing to talk about, and I'm glad that we're taking the time to talk about it. Just kind of some of the frustrations that we have are kind of wish that the league would define to the voters what they're voting for, and really just tighten some of the parameters. Tanner and I have talked about this about MVP voting. You know, everybody had a different perception of MVP when it came to Cal and Judge. Tanner and I will disagree with that until the day we're gone, but valuable and Hall of Fame come with certain understandings, and they're different for everybody. But I want to stick on kind of that 2017 Astros because we have you, Zach, and you know we told you, man, we were going to talk about this.
Yep.
I want to talk
just
about
for all the listeners, all of you. Zach wanted to be here, knowing that we would talk about this. So we're not just putting him on the spot.
Asked for this. This is it probably speaks a little bit to my demeanor a little bit that I would willingly walk into the lion's den.
Well, and you know we're friends too, so that, you know, anything said is not personal; it's all baseball. And Zach, I want to talk about. I want to start with you this time. What do you think about the punishment given to the Astros, or the lack of? And if you could wind back the clock and remove some of that bias, or just as a baseball fan, what do you think would have been a punishment that was fit for the crime of the 2017 Astros?
Well, it's hard to take the emotions out of it. There's a video of me somewhere lying on the floor crying when the final out was had. Truly a serendipitous experience for me. The way Lance McCullers was just plunking batters left and right in that Game 7, and not thinking we were going to make it out of LA alive. Wow. I mean, talk about an experience. But when you remove that and you get to the other side of things, we're starting to get a few years down the road and things are coming to light. I was shocked that bare minimum, the trophy wasn't wiped away. I think so much of like the Reggie Bush situation in college football. I think of how he lost the Heisman. Now, obviously, a lot's happened since then. Things have changed a lot in the landscape of college football. But I was so surprised that we didn't get the trophy pulled first and foremost. I was surprised there weren't suspensions to be had from players, any remote kind of tie to the players whatsoever. And if you want my honest opinion of the matter, the fact that I still see Alex Cora and AJ Hinch hanging around still irks me a little bit in the league. So I think from a bare minimum perspective, I was expecting to see no more trophy. I was expecting to see some guys. Maybe we were calling up a few more minor league guys that year because some of the big names weren't going to be playing.
Sure. So suspensions, obviously.
Yeah.
A vacating of the trophy, which perhaps is the biggest deal. If they had to vacate the trophy, the Dodgers would have been crowned champions.
Mm-hmm.
And you heard it here, folks. An Astros fan said that there should have been suspensions and vacation of the trophy. Thanks for your honesty. Tanner, what do you agree with, and maybe what would you add?
Boy, I don't think there's anything I disagree with there, Zach, which kind of shocks me. I think that's a really solid take on it. I think the part where you mentioned AJ Hinch and Alex Cora still being around is a big deal for me. Just because, you see these managers and these, leaders, or these guys who should be leaders in their clubhouse, who aren't punished and are now leading other teams. Like, what's stopping them from doing something like this again? Now that they have been caught, they just know better ways to not get caught. Like, the cheaters are cheaters, and don't usually change is a pretty common saying. If it happens once, I'd be surprised if it hasn't happened again or isn't happening again.
Yeah. And I agree. I wrote some things down. Everything that you guys said, I agree with. Here's what I'll start though. The part that bothers me the most about enforcing discipline in Major League Baseball is it feels, and you guys can disagree with this if you want, it feels like so much of it is the mood of the commissioner, the relationship with the commissioner, and the mood of the commissioner, the reaction of the commissioner. And it just felt like the commissioner of baseball at the time, it was trying to gather the information about the 2017 Astros team. And then he just said, you know what? I don't want anything to do with this. I don't want this to be a part of my reputation. I think there was a little bit of that in play, like the feeling of like, I don't really want to crack the whip, because if I crack the whip, this is what I'm going to be known for. Well, here's the problem is we as fans, I think we needed to see something done other than just an admission of fault, because all those guys admitted, right, that they knew. At least a good chunk of them knew. And so here's what I wrote down. I wish that those guys, specifically the core, would have received an 80-game suspension right off the bat, 80-game suspension. I wish that, as Zach said, I wish they would have had to vacate the trophy. And I'm sorry I have to say that, but really do wish, knowing what we know now, without a doubt, for a fact, that they would have to vacate the trophy. And then going back to some of what we talked about already, I truly do think that this should affect the reputation and the Hall of Fame chances of these players. And I'm talking about Correa and Springer and Tucker, like guys that were on the team. And, Hinch is another conversation, that the fact that he's still managing in ALDS and for a successful ball club. But what do you guys think about that? Just, Tanner, I want to start with you again. What damage should this have done to the players from that team?
Again, there's no real rules on cheating unless you do steroids. So nobody cares unless you take steroids, how you cheat, it seems like. Yeah, I mean, I agree. Realistically, some of those guys I don't see as Hall of Famers anyways. Like Correa, I don't think he'll ever make the Hall of Fame. I think probably the best player that has a good chance is Altuve. Altuve is probably one of the best second basemen ever, in my opinion, and is probably deserving. Yeah, I don't know. It's really hard to say like he should be a Hall of Famer when he cheated, when other people who aren't Hall of Famers cheated, and other people who are Hall of Famers did also cheat. So I'm just very torn on the subject in general, but I do think, yeah, probably 80 game suspensions would have been much better, and then coaches in leadership positions should have just been blacklisted, like shouldn't be around.
Right, as has happened. That's happened historically in sports, not just baseball, but sports. Zach, what do you think about that? The reputational damage and Hall of Fame chances, well, maybe specifically for Altuve.
Yeah, so I think this is kind of what I was hinting at earlier. If Beltran's in, I think Altuve has to be in based on the bar that we've set for ourselves. Do I think that's the right thing? I don't know. I think that's a very good question, but I think based on the bar that's been established by the league, I think he has to go in. But big question that's going to come to fact, he is the face of the franchise. People associate him differently. Hall of Fame voters can be a little wishy-washy. I think they'll at least make him sit out for a little while before they make up their minds if they want to vote or not.
A few rounds on the ballot. A few
Yeah.
rounds on the ballot for sure. For sure. Zach, was he wearing a wire?
It was a really embarrassing tattoo, from what I have come to understand. The worst thing about that story is I think it came to light that it was his kid's name, which that shouldn't be embarrassing whatsoever. So it's already got cracks in the foundation, doesn't it?
Oh, yes. Yes, it has cracks in the foundation. I think my least favorite part about the entire fallout of the Astros situation, and this maybe is the last thing I'll say about it, unless you guys have anything else. It really, 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 really bothers me, even to this day, that the Altuve and some of those guys in the press conferences played victim for getting booed the years after. They said, "Oh, I don't understand why we're getting booed. I just wish people would understand." And they tried to explain it away, and man, people just gave it to them for years afterwards.
It's so true. They really, you want to see guys be a little bit more apologetic. That's, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Tanner, kind of tying back to A-Rod. A-Rod shown remorse, right? Like, for everything that's happened. Am I wrong here?
He did it for a while, and then he got caught cheating again. So I think that really soured people.
That's fair.
One of the reasons people are soured.
And
I will say, last thing on this 2017 Astros, Altuve definitely robbed Judge of MVP that year.
That's fair.
Which is crazy. Because that was 2017, and here we are in 26 talking about Judge repeating as MVP again.
Yeah.
I heard
52 homers versus 24, 114 RBIs versus 81. Altuve won batting average. Judge had on base, slugging, OPS plus, silver slug. Both had silver sluggers, but
that's good.
Here's too much.
Is all I'm hearing. Semantics.
Here's an ongoing discussion that we'll need to talk about at some point. Is Aaron Judge the best right-handed hitter of all time in baseball history? It's an ongoing discussion. He's going into his age 34 season, I think. So, we'll see. We'll see what he's got left in the tank. I think he's got plenty of power left in the tank. And we're not done talking about cheating, right? We need to define it, not specifically maybe with the Astros and the 2017 team, but I want to have a discussion with you guys just about the levels of cheating in baseball. I want to name some of the ways that teams are actively cheating and have cheated in the past, or maybe some things that fans view as cheating, but it's really a competitive advantage. And I'll start, if that's okay. And with sticky stuff, I just kind of want to name a few of these sticky stuff, specifically that spider tack. If you're a baseball fan, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This was a competitive advantage until 25, correct? When the league came out, they started 24. They started checking hands. They came out and said, "Hey, it's not allowed." There was a big uproar amongst players because this, until they said something about it, was a competitive advantage. And I want to hear what you guys think about sticky stuff specifically.
I'm fine with sticky stuff. I don't think it's cheating. You can listen to pitchers talk about it all day. Like, might give them a slight advantage, a little better spin rate, but end of the day, I think it's helps cut down on injuries, which in my opinion is more important. Like we've seen these last couple of years, how many pitchers have gotten injured. And I think there's more than one reason, right? But I do think being able to use spider tack was one piece that helped pitchers have a little more control and stay away from injury. Because if you're keeping the ball in one spot versus, just this tiny little movement with the ball, doing that over and over is going to help your arm. So that was something I don't really see as cheating. If anything, it's giving pitchers just a little more control and helping people stay safer.
And I'm so in agreement with that. At the end of the day, the worst product I feel like we watch as baseball fans is completely injury-riddled teams. Like we want to see the best of the best compete. We want to see them be able to take care of their bodies, take care of themselves, and heck, what's a little sticky stuff between ball plays, right?
I'm gonna disagree. Actually, I think I'm glad Sticky Stuff is gone. I think it's not that big of a deal. I just think that the parameters are good because where's the line of spider tack? There's gonna be products that evolve if we allow it. To the point that gives pitchers more of a competitive advantage. And batters can't use more than pine tar up to a certain point on their bat. So why would we regulate a pitcher to do the same thing? But happy to disagree on that. Spider tack, no longer a competitive advantage in baseball, now considered cheating. Let's move on to steroids. And I want to start with Barry Bonds, because Barry Bonds, in my mind, is the clear number one player in baseball history. I think that there's a conversation to be had here and an ongoing conversation. But when you look at Barry Bonds' statistics, it's otherworldly. It's like no human being has ever achieved in any league ever of all time. What he was able to do at the plate, even on the bases for a while as a player, is just unprecedented. And here we are sitting without Barry Bonds, in my mind, the greatest player of all time, and there will be no other, by the way. I don't think Shohei Ohtani will pass him. I don't think there is a current player that's really threatening to pass him. He's not in the Hall of Fame. Let's talk about him for a minute. Tanner, what do you think about Barry Bonds not being in the Hall of Fame?
It's ridiculous. Like, he is, I agree, best baseball player of all time. You take away his 7 MVP seasons, he still had 440 homers and 359 stolen bases.
More than Beltran?
Like, he's just, there's nobody better, I think, ever. And I don't think it's particularly that close. Across the board, he is the best.
Zach?
That's a very simple answer for me.
Zach, who's better than Barry Bonds?
Jose Altuve, obviously, 2017. So just trying to rile Tanner up here. No, I that's always the argument I come back to, is if you remove the seasons in which he bulked up, if you take him back to the Pittsburgh days, like, he's still an incredible ball player, just an incredible ball player, even without the steroids. I know that, like, we don't want to completely remove that from his experience, but I mean, him in the Hall of Fame it should be synonymous. But as far as steroids are concerned, that's a tough question.
Right, because his neck was essentially the width of his leg at the end of his career, which, in a weird way, is a telltale sign of steroids, by the way. Barry Bonds should be in the Hall of Fame. Sign it, send it, get him in the Hall. If we can get Pete Rose in the good graces of the baseball gods, let's get Barry Bonds and A-Rod in the good graces of the baseball gods. We're praying.
Here's
about that.
A good Barry Bonds stat I just now learned. He has more walks than Joe Morgan has career hits. Joe Morgan has 2,517 career hits.
So how many intentional walks for Barry in his career?
Let's see. I don't know if that one's quite as easy to find. There it is. 688.
Yeah. So actually what that means, it intentionally walked a ton, more than franchises have been in their history, by the way. But a lot of those walks were earned, like pitching to him, pitching around him, and he had good vision, which is nuts to me that he took that many walks. Okay, let's start doing this. Let's do a ranking. Let's do a ranking
out
of 10.
One more real quick, Sam, if you don't mind. One more real quick. In 2004, he had more home runs and strikeouts, more hits and intentional walks than swings and misses. 135 hits with 92 swing and misses, 120 intentional walks, 92 swings and misses.
So the dude didn't miss the baseball.
Yeah.
When he swung.
Never, basically.
Never missed the baseball.
Yeah.
Listen to an interview with him. Listen to him break down pitches, break down at-bats. He's one of the smartest guys you'll ever see who played baseball. I want to rank these categories of cheating out of 10. 10 meaning they should be handled with the most severe penalty. 0 being I don't think it's cheating. Let's do steroids from a scale of 0 to 10 being most severe in your eyes. Zach, where does steroids fall in that?
It sits pretty dead middle for me. I think it sits at a 5 because it's something we have to acknowledge. There was a competitive advantage that comes with it, but at the same time, I don't think we need to be completely blacklisting a player for it either. We have to call some of the accomplishments that were had, and know that it was something pervasive in the league. It's a part of the league's history that it needs to be more comfortable embracing.
Tanner.
Same, right at 5. My frustrations more are around just the perception and the lack of a line behind it, because it's such an important thing that happened. You can make the argument steroids saved baseball back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Yeah.
Because those guys were leaving the yard, man.
Yeah.
They were leaving the yard.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd say 4. I think steroids bother me. Should be 80-game suspensions like they did to Tatis, man. Give them an 80-game. Let the fans react how they react. But, yeah, don't ruin these guys' careers and chance Hall of Fame over it. All right, let's move on. Something that I believe is a competitive advantage, but very much in baseball, and that is sign stealing. Sign stealing going on, and a discussion going on about sign stealing at the winter meetings and things like that. MLB executives voting basically to make sure that the first and third base coaches can't, they have to stay in their box so that they can't peek in and see what the sign is. What do you guys think about sign stealing and how it affects the game? And do you think it's cheating?
That's tough. I feel like it's really hard to steal signs right now with PitchCom. So I get that they're keeping the coaches in their box. So if it's truly stealing signs, I'm okay with it being gone. Now, if we're talking about pitchers tipping pitches, I'm 100% fine with that, because if it's being tipped, coaches and players picking up on it, that's fine. Not cheating at all. Not cheating at all. Yeah, but if coaches somehow have the ability to figure out signs through PitchCom, I just don't think it happens very much, to be honest.
Sure. Zach.
I'm in the same boat. I would say for when it comes to getting out of the box, things like that, I like them reining that in a lot more. I always think of the image, Tanner, you probably can appreciate this. I felt like the Yankees got a lot of stuff for it last year with the arm waving from second base, getting relayed from the sides of the field.
Against the Mariners.
Against the Mariners. It doesn't bother me nearly as much as what I think is going to happen. My hot take is I think we're going to start seeing people finding ways to intercept frequencies on the pitch comms eventually. I think that's going to be something we're going to have to watch out for. I don't think that's a tomorrow problem, but I think that's going to be the next big scandal if they don't keep that reined in.
Astros-esque scandal there, if I've ever heard one.
Astros front office is already working on it, I read.
Yeah, I'm sure.
They're listening to the pod right now, and they're like, no, that's an idea.
Yeah, sign stealing. I think you're right. There's not a whole lot happening. I will say this. The Mariners have a player in Josh Naylor who, whenever he's at second base, he will be signaling to the batter. And seriously, watch a Mariners game. He did it in both the ALDS and the ALCS. He would raise a certain hand at a certain height for fastball or off speed. And it was fascinating because in some of those hostile environments where pitchers couldn't hear as well in the pitch comm, they had to go to physical signs. When they went to physical signs, he would be able to peek in. And so there is a little bit of an advantage happening. And I think that players, not just Naylor, I think players don't care. They want to do whatever they can to win the game. And it doesn't matter if they show up on TV making goofy hand signals or whatever. That just happens. That's part of the game. All right. Next one. And I want you to, I want you guys to add to this list if you have any other forms of competitive advantage. But recording device use, okay, kind of like what we just talked about, stealing pitch comm would go into that category. I think it's clear cheating. I think it's probably a 9 or 10 on the scale for me. But what do you guys think about teams using kind of in Patriots-esque fashion video to record and get a competitive advantage?
I think we've seen a lot of different versions of this. I did a lot of research on different forms of cheating, and there was a kind of the mid-century Mets had admitted many decades afterwards, after a great season that they had, that they were using a telescope actually to be able to record
Pirate style.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right. So it's been done for a long time in different forms and fashions, and I think it's gotta get squelched quick.
Yeah. Where would you put it on the scale of 1 to 10?
For me, I'd put it at a 9 myself.
Yeah. Tanner, what about you?
Yeah, I'd say probably 8. I just don't think it happens all that much. I'd say there's other stuff I'd worry about more.
All right. What are some of those things? Tell us.
I don't know, some of the things we've already talked about. I don't have really much else to add to the list.
You guys don't have any other cheating forms in baseball or competitive advantage? I've got one more.
I mean, you could say like corked bats, but that doesn't really happen much. Banging the trash can, that's for sure 10.
That's borderline at 11.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got one more. This is a pet peeve, and we can transition to the AL West with this. I hate for a coach's challenge when they put their hand up and the guy in their own clubhouse takes a look at the replay and then sees if they actually want to challenge it. I think that's baloney. There should be a 5 to 10 second grace period where a coach decides if he wants to challenge or not. He can talk to his assistant coach right there if he wants to. I'm tired of the hand up replay to see if we want to replay and then calling it a challenge. That bothers me.
I don't mind it at all. And I think that's because I still feel like baseball has by far the best challenge system of any sport. Like, it's still extremely efficient if I have to wait 15, 20 seconds for a coach to decide, because it goes fast once that happens. I personally don't have any issues with that.
And I actually don't think it has anything to do with the challenge system. I just wish that a coach, like in basketball, would have to make a decision without getting the advantage of a replay before a challenge. That's all I'm saying. Gotcha. Let's do some AL West predictions, and we're going to end with this. We got to wrap up this pod. We've been talking for a long time about baseball. It's easy to talk about baseball, isn't it? Easy to talk about baseball for a long time. Easy to talk about those 2017 Astros. I still have more to say, by the way. I feel like I have more to say.
A part two?
Let's do
Are
this.
we calling a part 2 pod to vent frustration? Oh, my goodness.
There's more questions to be answered for sure about that year. I'm not sure our listeners want as much of that as they want current year predictions, hot takes, things like that. So let's talk about the AL West and how strong. I think it's a strong division. It's not the strongest it's ever been. It's certainly not as strong as the East with the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Blue Jays, but it is strong. And I want to make some predictions because the Mariners have sort of continued to build. The Astros are in this sort of wait and see formation. The Rangers got better in the offseason. The Athletics got better in the offseason. Even the Angels got better in the offseason. And I think fan bases of all 5 of these teams kind of have some hopeful things to say. So, Tanner, I'm going to put you on the spot. I want to have you make some AL West predictions, top to bottom, and why you think whoever's going to win is going to win.
Yeah. I'm Mariners at first, Astros, Rangers, Athletics, Angels. Mariners, I think they're clearly the strongest team in the West. The Astros and Rangers, I think could probably go either way, but I think the Rangers have too many risky players on their roster. So like Corey Seager, I don't know the last time. Yeah, DeGrom, I don't know the last season was the first season. He's been healthy all year. Corey Seager hasn't been healthy all season for quite some time. They made the acquisition of Mackenzie Gore. I think he's a high potential pitcher, but also hasn't finished the season healthy. They don't have much of a bullpen. So I just think the Astros are probably better positioned to get second place. But I do think the Athletics could be sneaky into that third spot.
Sneaky A's.
They just, big Amish. That dude's a beast. But I just don't think they have the pitching to take them far. But I could see them being a really good offensive team, especially still being in Sacramento. That helps them tremendously. And then the Angels just are still going to stink. Like
it's the fighting Zach Nettos and old Mike Trout.
Yeah, Mike.
At that point,
I feel for Angels fans because they stink.
Me too. Yeah, they've got a lot to gripe about. Tanner, look up while we're waiting Nick Kurtz projections for 2026 because I want to see what Fangraphs thinks he's going to do this year. People are talking about him like crazy. I know he's young, but thanks for giving us those predictions, Zach. Is there anything different that you'd say about the AL West this season?
I'm actually really aligned with Tanner on this one. I think Seattle's the clear-cut favorite right now. They got better. They were good already. It doesn't feel like a fluke of what happened last year, and I think it's theirs to prove they can repeat and maybe do a little bit more with it. I actually, in the same way as Tanner, kind of have Texas and Houston a little interchangeable right now, but as my father-in-law put it, Texas always has a way, Yankees fan, by the way, Texas always has a way to mess things up. So I think I'm going to go Houston in the 2 spot, then Texas, then the Athletics, which I think will be a fun team to watch. I'd love to catch a game in Sacramento, I'm not going to lie. And then LA just dragging the bottom like they have been for a little bit of time now.
It's good. So you guys are in alignment. Tanner, what's Nick Kurtz projected for 2026?
Nick Kurtz is about the same as last year with more games. So 36 homers, 260 average, 137 WRC plus, and 3.6 WAR. Last year he had 4.6 WAR, higher average, higher on base. So I'd say they're projecting a bit of a regression from last year in more games, according to Fangraphs. There's a lot of other things out there, but Fangraphs has them regressing a little bit.
Some podcast somewhere say that he hit. Did he hit 35 home runs last year in 95 games, something like that?
36 and 117.
Yeah, but in his first, how many total games did he play? You said
117 last year.
Yeah, so his first 22 games he hit 1 home run. He was adjusting, and then over the last 95 games he just blew up. He seems like that superstar. I like what the Athletics are doing with Jacob Wilson, by the way. They got him on a 7-year deal for $10 million a year. How does that even happen in baseball?
Teams have a lot more power early on.
Power early on, for sure.
Early on and much more leverage. Guys want to get locked up. Braves.
This is Athletics baseball, though, isn't it? Getting a player in what I see as good as Wilson for $10 million a year over 7 years. I think that's one of the steals of the offseason. He's a heavy contact guy, but I like his game. I do have the Mariners winning. Fangraphs give the Mariners about 80% chance to make the playoffs. I think it would be a colossal failure if they didn't, given the players that they have in Cal Raleigh and Julio and Naylor and the boys are coming back. The rotation is not the best in baseball, but it is. I would say it's a top 10 in baseball. Hard to beat the Dodgers rotation, by the way.
And
I think that's
just shorten yourself. I'm giving you guys top 5 rotation for sure.
Okay,
yeah,
that's good. I think the argument is that all of them are solid, really good rotation. There's just not a lot of variation in pitching styles. They're all righties too. So it'd be really nice to have a left-handed starter for the Mariners. But I've got them winning 90 games this year. That's right at their Vegas projection, 89.5. I think the Mariners are right at 90 and 72. I think the Astros are in second. It's something about the Astros. They always find a way to make it interesting up to late, at least recently. This was their division. Let's be honest. This was their division up until last year. And the Mariners still were fighting with them with 5, 6, 7 days left of the season. And so let's not forget, the Astros really can make it interesting. Rangers are a team to watch. I think the Rangers fans and the fan base in Texas, I've got them finishing 3rd, by the way, think that they're going to win the World Series. Like, if you just read online what they're feeling, and they're just excited because they all of a sudden have some players. But I think the reality is that, Tanner, you hit this on the head. There's just a little bit too much unknown from their roster. It was weird to me that Adolis Garcia never really worked there. I think Garcia is going to go be a stud in Philly, by the way. I think he's going to go mash and hit more home runs. There's just something about Texas Zach, that is an issue, and I don't think they're quite ready to make that jump. I will say it was fun to see DeGrom pitch as much as he did last season. Athletics fourth. I've got Athletics winning 77 games. Fangraphs gives 25% chance the Athletics to make the playoffs. I think that's crazy. That means that on a four-sided dice, the Athletics make the playoffs 1 out of 4 times. That is nuts to me. That Vegas or someone in Fangraphs is sitting in their conference room and saying, you know what, I think the Athletics have a chance. It's kind of like the Pirates. The Pirates, Fangraphs giving the Pirates like 43% chance to make the playoffs this year. Like, whoa. So I've got them fourth, and the Angels I've got fifth, who have a 5.5% chance to make the playoffs. I've got them winning 73 games. What are they doing down there in LA? It's pretty sorry. What'd I miss?
Man, I definitely disagree with you that Adolis Garcia is going to be a stud. For sure disagree with that, but that's not AL West related anymore. That'd be NL East. So we'll have to talk about that another time.
I just saw his arms. So all I needed to do is look at his tree trunk arms, man. He just got to make contact.
Where's the PED test for him?
Didn't matter.
Kidding.
Doesn't matter.
We
It's a
weren't
4 out of 10.
that. Remember, that's only a 5. That's only
that's
5.
right. Don't
Not
do
a
that.
big deal.
Oh, it's good. Anything else you guys want to mention before we wrap up this pod number 3?
I think the only thing that's really going to dictate for Houston is I know if I have any Houston listeners, they're going to be very disappointed in how I presented myself this time around. But I tried myself to be an honest fan, which is, I think y'all have come to learn that about me more than anything else. I think the key for Houston this year is how do we replace Valdez? Obviously, without him throwing at our catchers' heads, he was an innings eater, though. He was somebody that gave a lot of good innings, had a lot of good pitches in his arsenal. I'm riding high on Tatsuya Imai, our Japanese pitcher that we just got in. Said he signed with Houston because he wants to beat the Dodgers. I like that attitude. I think that's going to be a lot of fun for the boys down in H-Town. So I think he'll be a good fit.
Sam, what about you? Key to the Mariners.
Man, key to the Mariners' season and success has to come down to Julio Rodriguez taking a jump, doesn't it? He's 25 years old. He has 4 or so good seasons under his belt. It's time for him to do a 30, 35, 40 home run season, steal 30 bags, and show us that he's a superstar. What about you, Tanner?
I'll see.
Key to the Yankees season.
Well, Jazz Chisholm today said that he's going to be the next 50-50 player. So if he does that, that would help. But it's not going to help.
That'd be beneficial.
That'd be really nice. That's not happening. I think for us, it's just health. Like if we can get Cole and Rodon healthy all season, and Cam Schlittler's who we think he's going to be. Yeah, I think health for us is the big thing, and then having some sort of stability at shortstop. Like if Jose Caballero can just take it and run with it, he's going to be a menace on the bases and much better defender than Volpe. So I think we need to shore that up. But overall, I feel good about the Yankees as long as they're healthy.
Me too. Guys, thanks for talking baseball. Zach, man, thanks for coming on the pod. Thanks for talking ball with us. Thanks for being honest about the Astros. Were we nice to you? Nice enough?
Y'all were nice enough, and maybe I was a little too forgiving. As I said, there'll be some people that won't love my takes, but I know y'all weren't too objectionable to some of the admissions I made here today.
Oh hey, man, thanks.
It's good to have different perspectives and takes. We love it.
Yep. Thanks for being brave. Thanks for being on the pod, and for those listening, whether you're on Spotify, YouTube, whatever you're listening to us on, thanks for listening. And next time we have a pod, we'll have spring training games under our belt. We will be putting our eyes on opening day, to be honest with you, and probably talking about some guys that we're excited about, teams we're excited about, and making more predictions. So thanks for listening. This is Launch Angle Baseball Podcast Episode 3. See you later.